This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports. We are delighted to be joined with the man of the moment, obviously the headline act, dream come true moment, Padraig McCrory. I was speaking to you obviously last week at Mark Dunlop's show, but we sort of didn't mention anything about this. But what's the feelings obviously now that, I guess you've sort of known for a bit of time before it was announced, but headlining the Feile, is it another one of these sort of pinch me moments where you're sort of going, well, I know we've spoke about it and things you wanted to headline cards, but now it's here, it's on paper, it's on a poster, you're headlining a card. How are you feeling?
Yeah, very privileged. It's the Feile boxing actually like obviously came about 8 years ago when Tommy McCarthy topped the bill, but then it kind of went away, and it came back in big style when Conlan topped the bill. And I just remember like the buzz about that, like the boxing in the Falls Park open air event. Um, and now it's my turn. So yeah, do you know what? I've had dreams of topping bills, Ulster Hall, in the SSC. Um, but I think this is just right. This is just, I think it's the right place for me to top my first bill in Belfast.
Wait, obviously 2019 was your sort of breakout moment. Obviously the Feile you're running about daft, obviously when you stop Steve Collins the last round, but you're running about as if you were a helicopter. You were sort of circling the ring constantly. But at that moment for you, it was a massive moment. It was your sort of breakout thing. And ever since sort of then, as I know Jamie touched on last week, you've had sort of fights where you weren't expected to win. And you've got here probably through all your home hard work. You've sold tickets, you've always went through the process of fights being cancelled early on. And obviously now you're getting the chance to headline in the Falls Park. It's nearly like a novel or a story in itself. It could be a movie at the fact that what you've had to sort of come through in the trials and tribulations to get the obviously your big moment.
Yeah, no, I've definitely done it the hard way. As we said, and like it's been documented. I've came from the small hall scene, kind of on ticket deals from day dot. And uh, thankfully, my friends and family, extended family, like have they back me every time. And it's opened up like opportunities, but they get them with opportunity comes risk, and with risk you gotta win. They keep just to keep the ball rolling. And thankfully things have fell kind of perfect for me. And now 17 fights in, and I'm about the top a massive show in Belfast.
It's when you sort of look over the last year, obviously when I went to Germany and obviously became the ABO champ, obviously you weren't expected to sort of win. And, even your fight behind closed doors over in Bolton, where you obviously had a first round stoppage, again, you weren't expected to win. It's it's sort of it's nearly like a reward gratification where all the hard work you've done, you're now getting your reward. Where Jimmy's obviously said so many times that you're a pleasure to deal with, everything's easy. You're obviously now probably getting very close to you getting into the management side as well. So you know how everything works. So you've pretty much done everything that's right. So you're obviously now getting this because of everything that you've done rather than people buying tickets and everything else. You've dynamite in both hands. And unfortunately, I'm going to sort of touch on obviously after this point, but unfortunately, obviously, knocking people out isn't enough to obviously to get you the big glamour fights that you want. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
sort of touch on. But I firstly want to touch on obviously your opponent, Steve Woodhall. What do you know of him? He sort of was in boxing, lost to Steve Rolls, sort of went out of boxing for a couple of years and come back. It's all for you to sort of lose. Like obviously you're coming in here as the home favorite. You're expected to win, but with that comes extra pressure because you're expected to win and win well.
Yeah, listen, I didn't know much about him until his name came up, and then I looked into him and like a bit of that, and he seems like a solid opponent. He seems to have a solid amateur record. I think he boxed in the World Championships and stuff as an amateur. Um, he's 18-1, only beat by Steve Rhodes, and Steve Rhodes has boxed at the highest level as well. Like so, there's no shame in that. And he seems to pack a punch a bit. He's 11 knockouts out of 18 wins. So Ireland for England in the Feile, two guys with good records. I think it's a good matchup. People will see me as a favourite. I think, yeah, it's understandable. But yes, as you say, there's now sort of pressure on me as the guy that's meant to win. Um, and it's it's a pressure that I feel like my career has kind of built towards. So it's going to be nothing new. I always go into a fight with the underdog sort of like the mentality, because I know what it's like to be at the bottom. So listen, I'm preparing for a very hard fight, and I'm expecting him to come and give it his all. I know he's bringing over a decent crowd, which shows a sign of confidence as well. So yeah, it's going to be a great night.
Obviously, headlining the field. Obviously, I know that you've sort of mentioned obviously getting. I can't remember who it was. It was a singer. They obviously walked you out. You're thinking of the Mick Conlan moments, obviously in the field. You want this sort of moment now where you can look back in years to come and go, "Whoa, wasn't that special?"
Yeah, Ron McMullen sings a great song called Belfast City, which I love. Belfast City is my home. It's a place I'm very proud to come from, and the song it's just a great song. So I think you may find there's more to come on that, in the coming days or week or so. So it'll be a good surprise and addition to the card, I would say. And then I think we'll have another few announcements on fighters getting added to the card, which is going to be good as well. Some local talent. So yeah, I'm looking for that moment, like the moments that I've seen and witnessed, like on these big shows, like the front moment at Windsor, which I was there for, like the McConlan and his homecoming at the SSC when I was there. It was very special as well. Um, it's just these moments I've stood and watched, and I've always thought, wow. And I'm now looking forward to to tell my own moment.
And obviously, another big fan favorite, obviously here in Belfast, Sean McComb, obviously co-headlining the card. Sean's
Mm-hmm.
obviously sung your praises very well, and I remember back his interview in December, where and obviously won the belt. He was obviously saying, he was very focal in the fact that he wanted you to headline a card and him to be co-main, and here we are, 7 months later, it's come to fruition. So Jamie must have sort of looked at that interview and thought, Sean's talking a lot of sense here. Let's do it. In the field, and the best probably atmosphere you could have with it as well. I think it's looking like 5,000 capacity.
We're going to 5,000, yeah, yeah. Listen, Sean has put himself in a position where he's probably like able to do it himself. He had a big win on Sky Sports recently as well, which adds to Sean's sort of like profile. Um, and yeah, me and Sean have trained together. We grew up together. We played for the same football team. I can remember Sean as a kid boxing. I think he was called the Snake back in the day. Big tall southpaw, and like me and Sean be friends. So it's great to have him on the card. Uh, as co-main event, he's a popular guy in West Belfast. He's a popular guy like in Ireland because of like his madness and his stories, but he's good fun. And having Sean on the card is it's a big boost like for the show as well.
I guess it gets everybody in that rowdy sort of state. He's a perfect sort of guy to have as co-main to you, because by the time you come out, people will either be going absolutely berserk or they'll have no voices left. But obviously Sean, just the entertainer.
Yeah, we have a lot of like we go friends from like St James's Swift from Turf Lodge and St James's. So Sean's gonna get the crowd and get the ball rolling. And then I'm gonna close the show.
And is that for you? Is it sort of important? You're very critical, obviously, your last couple of performances, and I've sort of talked you down from it. Are you obviously you're wanting, in your own head, you want to put on a big performance after your last few, in your opinion? In my opinion, I thought everything was fine, but are you looking for a big performance in the field?
Yeah. I think I owe a big performance, like the performance in Germany, tell the people of Belfast. But as I keep saying it, at this stage of my career, it's just important to keep getting the win. If it comes in a born ugly fight, so be it. But I think the people of Belfast they deserve a bit more. And I'll be going out to try my best to put on a show.
I guess every fight, obviously, it's not that you don't go out to try and stop someone, because let's face it, if you stop someone, it's an easier night's work. But obviously, you're not going to go gun ho from the first bell, sort of throwing haymakers. You're going to be meticulous in obviously what you do, and if the opportunity comes, Steve would Hall be seeing the canvas, knock it back up.
I think I need to, because like my opponent he's not a guy who's going to like lie down either. So I can't just go in and go all guns blazing or all guns blazing, or I'll be found out. Isn't it? It's about picking my shots at the right time, being smart about it. But as I say, I want to try and put on a show.
Obviously, so Canelo Alvarez, I think obviously the news of him going to PBC probably hurt you in some ways as well, because obviously your dream of landing that big fight, for the next 3 fights, and it looks like Canelo's obviously tied up the PBC, and they have fighters sort of thereabouts. He's fighting Charlo, he's moving up 2 weights and stuff as well. You've never really, I guess, it was always going to be ultimate dream to fight Canelo, but sort of for the next 3 fights now, do you sort of have to go, I need to try and get myself in a position where there is no other option?
I suppose, like, if you had said to me, as I say, 5-6 years ago, I'd be topping the bill to Feile, like I would have laughed. Do you know what I mean? Said impossible, or I would have won the IBO belt. I would have said no, impossible. So again, you saying that, I kind of smirk and smile and know and think, oh, impossible. But it's a strange sport. You've seen like Canelo has give guys in the UK opportunities, so you never know. But yes, listen, I'm always kind of what will be. But if that fight, like if it ever came about, it's a dream fight against the prime best fighter in the world, a super middleweight. He's definitely the best fighter in the world. But as I say, I kind of smirk and smile like when the fight's mentioned sometimes. But we can keep dreaming.
You have to dream. If you don't dream, obviously, what is obviously life. If you can't have them dreams, it become a reality. And they say you never know. They say the phone can pick up, and they could have an opponent announced and go, there's 4 weeks out and somebody's pulled out. Padraig McCrory's training for a fight. Let's go.
I'm your man.
You're the man. Obviously, I want to touch on Eddie Hearn's comments. Obviously, after obviously Jay Quigley, obviously didn't obviously come out victorious, obviously in America, but he said that sort of it's come back to this whole thing again, Paddy, and I'm sure it probably annoys you that your high risk, low reward. How can anybody get a chance in life if you can't be given an opportunity? Does that annoy you now when you see him going, your high risk, low reward?
It probably annoyed the people around me more than it actually annoyed me. In there somewhere, there's a compliment, which he says, I'm actually a good fighter. And listen, it's a business. He's a businessman, and he does the best for what he thinks works for his fighters. All I can keep doing is grind away, and I'm probably not vocal enough in calling people out or creating a bit of hate or smack talk or whatever you want to say. But all I can do is keep trying to win, keep trying to catch the attention of people like Eddie Hearn and the big guys that around the sport. And if I get my shot against one of the guys, it's about showing up and taking my opportunity.
It's like just over a year ago, I was name dropping you to Eddie Hearn, obviously fight week of Conlan Wood. And obviously then became a discussion where you were in the picture for the Berlanga fight. I guess in some ways, sort of, what does a couple of months hold, when they're sort of look at the next opponents for Berlanga, your name could still be in the picture. And I guess there's no point you changing what you are, and you're a respectful fighter. You do your talking in the ring rather than outside the ring. You don't want to be that sort of one that starts bad mouthing somebody to get a fight.
No, although I have a couple of friends on Twitter who's been like really persistent and tagging Eddie Hearn about fighting Berlanga. So I'm sure he's seen it because it's been friggin' non-stop. But I need people like that in my life to they can do like the talking for me or the calling for me. But yeah, as you say, I don't really want to change like the person I am. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's not meant to be.
Obviously, on the Belanga Quigley fight, obviously Jason Quigley obviously boxed very well in the fight. I guess a couple of maybe I'd say probably a couple of not silly moments, but obviously getting caught in the corner. I think two of the knockdowns. One was a push at the back of the head. The other one was a sort of tangle of legs, sort of moving away. But what did you sort of make of the performance? Did you look at it sort of? Because when I was watching the fight sort of live, I was sort of going, what would Paddy be like in this fight against either man? Because Jamie Collins obviously said last week he would love to do you and Jay Quigley. He thinks it'd be a massive fight for Ireland. When you sort of look at a fight like that, do you sort of picture yourself in it? Or were you sort of looking at it and going, if I had a hit Berlanga with that shot, it would have been waking up next day?
Actually, Jason caught him a clean right hand where he dipped and come back, and a few people did say to me, if it was me to hit him, that things it could have been different. But big respect to Jason Quigley. He took his opportunity. He showed up, and he won a lot more rounds than the cards give him like the credit for. A couple of knockdowns that were a wee bit sort of dubious, but Berlanga is a big, strong boy, and when he's coming at you, there's sometimes that you have to stand and fight. But yes, Jason, I think he came out of the fight with a lot of respect. And anything I read online like was positive. So yeah, he he done much better than a lot of people thought he was going to do. But back in Ireland, anyone that knows Jason Quigley knows I think he's a very good fighter. As an amateur, he was top class. So like I wasn't surprised. Yes, and as I say, Jamie's mentioned a potential fight like between us, and it's like it's more impossible. There's he's 32 or 33. I'm 35. Listen, it would be a massive crossroads fight to see if there's another shot at a world title for Jason Quigley or if I'm next in line. And again, it would be a massive fight in Ireland.
Obviously, when you think of it towards the back end of the year, obviously you're going to have Katie Taylor coming home. The Cameron match looks like it's nailed on for the 3 Arena again in November. Michael Conlan's obviously returned to action as well. There's cards there that could make sense, but I guess now where they're saying Jason Quigley's stocks rose, well, obviously Eddie Hearn when he worked in the game with the zone, will they try and do they sort of look at him as an opponent for somebody else? Not disrespecting him, but obviously when the zone sort of try to match you up, they expect you to lose. So will they give him like a sort of home fight to then look at somebody else? Do they try and sort of, I don't know, put him in with him in gear or something like that? I guess you just want an opportunity like that. Obviously, everybody wants a sort of an away day opponent. You want to go in and upset the form books and give someone a beating that they deserve.
I think Monkey is probably a decent matchup for him. Jason, now like after like the Belanga fight, you might find that people like Eddie Hearn will want to match him up with a future opponent of Berlanga, and then they can see, or if the way it works, they want to see who does a better job, and if the matchup, they build like the matchup then down the line. And to be honest, if Jason, if he's getting offered the right money, they could be silly not to take it. Do you know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, it's about him trying to secure his future as well. So who knows? It's a business, and at the minute that's all they got to make control. As I said before, control the controllables, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Obviously, 4 weeks tomorrow. It'll probably be 4 weeks today. By the time I sort of maybe put this out, I think 9 o'clock this evening is probably a bit late after 10 we putting it out, so maybe put it out tomorrow. So 4 weeks today, obviously, do you start now to visualize the moments of the Feile? It's probably hard, to drive past on a daily basis. Do you think that not only are you fighting the Feile, but you'll be headlining it? Do you try to put that in the back burner for the next couple of weeks and not think about it until fight week hits, or what's your
Oh,
what's your your head feeling at the moment with the Feile?
during my sprints, during my like hard bag sessions, and during my running and stuff, that I like even last night I was running, and at 6 minutes to go, and it was like right 2 rounds, and then I was visualizing saying like the kind of like ding ding round 9 fighting, and then like last 3 minutes, like it was amazing, and standing up the 10th round, and the cheer going and just pushing me on, and then I'm putting the speed up on the like running machine, and I'm running faster, and the excitement's building. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I'm definitely visualizing that, and it's something like I've worked on, is a bit of sort of like visualization and getting comfortable in like the surroundings. So I've been there before. I fought in the Feile. I know what it feels like, what it smells like. I know what it's like to win there. Do you know what I mean? So that's definitely part of it.
Obviously, last week, obviously another great night for the stable. Obviously, I don't know what it is about you, Paddy, as a fan, and I've noticed it a couple of times, and it's actually been both Colm Murphy fights, and obviously the Gerward, you suck me. Um, I think it was his fight or his Owens fight. You'd suck me there, and last week you couldn't sit in a seat. You know, we obviously you as a fan, obviously watching your fellow gym mates, you can't cope with it at all. To think of what you're like in the ring, you're cool and composed. But
No,
another
no.
great night for the stable last week in the Europe Hotel.
Yeah, so I think last week's show was probably the last show that I'm going to go to, because I think I'm going to have a heart attack. It's I don't know. I I get very involved in it. Sometimes a bit too emotionally involved, and I shoot and say stuff that I probably shouldn't. But I'm in the gym with these guys every day, and they're friends, and I like to see them do well. And these guys, Murph and Owen and Conor, Jared, all right, like they all traveled like to Germany to like to watch me fight. You know what I mean? And to see them do well, it's massive. Like Colm was fighting Liam Gaynor, who I was in his gym just before like my last fight, and his coaches and like his team were all burning people, and even him. But when he's fighting like my guy, it's kind of like f him, let's go Colm. And a few times I got a bit mad, shouted the wrong stuff, but yeah, I love seeing the lads win.
Obviously, for Colm, obviously, like it's crazy to think that obviously less than 2 years as a pro, 8-0, BUA Celtic champion, defended it, now Irish champion. I guess it shows, testament not only and obviously Colm as a person. I think he's fantastic. And a young fella like that, he's a massive future in the sport. But it also shows, obviously, I guess in some ways, how great D is. Obviously, and we're not here to sort of sing his praises and sort of give him more compliments that he already knows. He already knows obviously how great a trainer he is. But for where he's changed Colm in itself from him as an amateur, we've obviously all seen his fights with JP Hale, where he was using his head as his defense. Do you see where he is now, where he's sort of, and they come through a tough moment like that as well. Like that was a nasty cut in his eye. For him to come through that and probably box even better straight after the cut, that's testament in itself, isn't it?
You know, it didn't phase him. It was just it was a stare in his eyes. Just it was just Murph, and he walked back and he's cut. He get clean, and he just went again. But I think he'll see himself the improvements that these brought on him through his own hard work as well, because he's a very dedicated fighter. Um, but yeah, he's working massively on his defense. Anything he's told to do, he does. And he's a pleasure to be around. He's a great kid. He's early 20s. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a real good guy, and he's a massive future. And I'll always be there supporting him.
He's obviously definitely a good role model, obviously, for anybody sort of coming through. And I know you've been a great role model for everybody else in the gym. So it's good to sort of see everybody sort of latching on to the success you've had. And they're sort of copying a lot of traits that you would have, where they're respectful, they come to fight, they're honest, hard working. And obviously they can all sell tickets as well. So it seems to be a good trait that's in that gym, that, unless you're there to work hard and obviously to show your skills in the ring, you might as well find another gym.
That's it. Listen, like there's no bullshit. Although like we'll have a wee slag, but there's no bullshit. We know what we're there to do. We know the business side of boxing, and we know what we have to do. So listen, it's it's a great team to be part of.
I'm in his CD actually as well, and I know that you are now mates again. You and Conor are mates again, but I
Mm-hmm.
actually seen him buying food. He actually bought his missus a McDonald's after the fight night last Saturday night. I couldn't believe it.
You know, it's because his missus has him under the thumb. He literally he literally doesn't like. I asked him, let's do sprints like tomorrow at 10. A camp, bro. Why? Because I'm going up to see her. He's like, he's truly whipped. See if you look closely, there's like a big circle right here in his head. And I said to him, mate, what is that? And I look closer. It's her thumbprint, like right on his forehead. It's wild.
I knew it wouldn't take much to trigger it off. The last time you called him a rat, and he bought you drinks to be your friend again. So do you do this now? So he buys you things.
Yeah. So on Wednesday, Conor, I want that same drink again, and then we're mates. We're all good.
And obviously he's fighting in your undercard. Obviously he always slags Owen O'Neill. He's fighting in his undercards, but I know it hasn't been officially announced yet. But Connor's obviously going to have a sixth fight in inside of the last 12 months. Obviously on the field, so it'll be good to obviously have Connor on the undercard.
Yeah, sure. He's already flipped the saying that it's mad that they need a novice crew on the show to sell it out. He's full of bollocks.
Obviously tickets wise, obviously I know that you do your usual, and I can even go back to obviously Mick Conlan's homecoming in 2018, where I know at that stage I think Tasha was going to divorce you because obviously just the hassle you're going through with tickets. It wouldn't be a fight card you're on, Potty, if there obviously there's some sort of drama around tickets. If you order too much of too many, you've obviously had a good response to ticket sales.
Yeah, listen, I have over 600 names, and I had to like get rid of a few as well because I couldn't like get them what they wanted. I think there's something going on with Ticketmaster. They only like allowed us so many in hand. I took a quite bulk of them. So now at the minute they're only available on Ticketmaster. We are hoping to get maybe some more, and if we do, I will do a post on that. I've always done my own tickets. Probably something that I should get rid of, but I like to do it because it's something that I've always done. I build good relationships with people. I build a rapport like with the people that I didn't know before. And it's something that I'll continue to do.
How like it sort of goes upon like I've helped obviously all of you sell tickets stuff in the past, but do you think it like you've three kids at home, you're married, you're still a PT, you do your training and everything else. Like when you're running about selling, when you're giving tickets and stuff out, you're obviously running very empty and obviously sleep and everything else. Like do you just not like to sleep, or is it because you're not allowed in the biscuit tin in the house, you have to leave the house?
Don't say that Tony O'Neill that I'm not sleeping. It's very me. He harps on sleep is king, which it is actually, yeah. But listen, it's some of my days there's not enough hours in, but between trying to juggle everything, I'm actually now only part time. I don't do loads in PT. I've had clients for a long time who I still work with. But outside of that, I try to be there as much like for my kids. I try to dedicate myself to training. I try to give myself the best nutrition, which I get help with from Rubens. So listen, it's a challenge sometimes, but with a good like support network like around me with my wife and my family, and the Tasha's mum as well. It makes it like a lot easier.
Obviously, I guess the ultimate dream now that you're part time in the PT and is obviously, for however long you've left in boxing, it'd be ideal if you could get the right sort of sponsorship to let you do it full time, so you can really give 150%. Not that you don't already, but if you're able to give everything to boxing for how long you've left in the sport, it would give you the very
I,
best chance at it.
that's it. Listen, I'm at the stage now where I I, I could probably go full time boxing. But who knows? Boxing could last for another 6 months or it could last for another 2 years. If I leave now and I'm and I box for another couple of months, I'm back to square one. I got to go back in and build my business again. So, and keep my foot in the door for a reason, like as well. You know what I mean? It's because I know where I am at, like in the stage of my career. It's not. I have great support from sponsors as well, like Jim Cole. They sponsor me. which takes the pressure off. I have like Ron Mack hooping with me and Urquhart. Just I have a lot of sponsors and a lot of backing, so I probably could like go full time, and that's probably why I'm only doing 12, 13 hours a week. So that isn't an issue. But I'm just keep my foot on the door, because I don't know how long boxing's going to last.
I guess it's sort of something to do with your day as well, obviously, because if you sit about the house all day, you can give in the temptation of obviously not being on your diet, or if you sit about the house all day, you have nothing to do. So it's that sort of metabolism, and you just need to keep moving. So getting out and seeing people and in the gym, it's something you love doing.
Yeah. I kind of get the reason why some people can't be at home during camp. Temptation, it's a lot easier. I'm fond of a biscuit. So yeah, it does make it a wee bit harder, but I it's like I'm an adult. I'm a pro athlete on the verge of some massive fight, so I just gotta try and acknowledge it all.
Obviously, winning in 4 weeks' time, obviously headlining the Feile, would you probably say it's your greatest moment as a pro? Obviously, because it's a headline act, or would Germany still be number one?
Germany was a different feeling. I was brought there in the Land's Den as sort of like lamb to slaughter, and that feeling was great that I that I done the unexpected in Germany, which is like, notoriously not a great place to go. So it's going to be a different high, but come the 4th of August, if I come out like victorious, it I think it's going to be like the most special night of my career.
It'd be hard to top. I guess the only way you could top it, obviously, if you just went to Mexico and sparked out Canelo and took all the belts,
Which is
took all
very
the
personal.
money, and rolled home in a G wagon. But obviously, it's moments like that, isn't it? That's the memories that keep you driving day in, day out. You know that your name's in the lights, you're headlining your own card in the Feile. And I guess the only way to top that then is to headline probably the SSE, end of this year, start of next year, and a really big, massive fight.
Yeah. Obviously, it shows the confidence the Conlan boxing have in me and the Feile in football who have got behind them and helped them like put on the show. So they're people I know that run the event as well. Kevin Gamble and Harry Conley and so forth. So they get the backing of the local community, the belief from Conlan boxing. It's it's a testament like to me. It's also, but I'm also very very proud that they have that in me, or they have the belief in me.
Obviously, just thinking, not that I know that you're thinking of retiring anytime soon, but is there a title you'd like to win, or is there a fighter you? I'm not trying to get you to call someone out here, because I know that that's what you were thinking. I'm trying to get you to call someone out. But is there a fighter you'd like to fight? Is there a belt you'd like to win before that? Where if you look at it now and you go, Canelo's out of the picture for 3 fights, where do you sort of position yourself next? Do you sort of look at maybe the EBU European title? Do you sort of maybe have to broaden your horizons, sort of look at different avenues? Where would you like to go?
Uh, so obviously, like the most famous belt in boxing is the green belt WBC, but that's tied up like with Canelo. Then you have, I suppose there's like Benavidez, who's a regular champion. You have Dave Morrell, who's the regular champion, who look like they probably fight each other. I don't know. I know there's been a bit of back and forth there. I would love to fight in Vegas one day. MSG's a special place as well. I would love to get that. Berlanga is a massive fight because of his massive profile. Um,
Caleb Plant,
all these
obviously, you
things.
said yesterday you wished obviously you're one place above him in the rankings, and I said that obviously you're only a couple of pounds behind him. Not that Tasha knows. You'd let on that obviously you have no money, but obviously
Listen,
Caleb Plant would be another good fight there as well.
very special fighter who I've watched. Um, I I would love the opportunity like to fight him as well. He like I love his style. I love the way he puts his punches together, the way he punches the body and head. He's been involved in the biggest fights. He shows that he's not afraid to fight anybody. He's fought probably the two best at the weight. I said Dave Morrell, who I think is also special. Um, but yeah, though, like all them names, they're extremely like they're very appealing to me. And you want to challenge yourself like against the best. If you're fighting the best, you're fighting in the best of venues in the world, which is the MSG, which is the MGM or the T-Mobile Arena, and these are things that I want to experience.
Definitely. Well, listen. Well, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, you know it's getting late on a Thursday evening. I'm sure we'll see you knocking about over the next couple of weeks. No doubt I'll be in the gym. Obviously, Friday, tomorrow, today, or when this is going up, I'll be in the gym, but you'll not be there as you're at a wedding. But I'm sure we'll catch up with you very soon. Obviously, it's a pleasure as always getting to catch up with you. Enjoy obviously the rest of camp, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you very soon.
Yes, thank you, Morty. Take it easy.
Cheers, buddy. Take care.
Good
Thanks.
night. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.